What's up, everybody? Welcome to a recap episode of Season 1 of the Thought Provoking Podcast. I'm your host, Will Brown, and I got some special guests with me, some returning guests, and some supporters. Y'all like to introduce yourselves?
I'm Felicia, but you can call me Fee.
Okay.
How you doing? It's your boy Marcus, aka Groove.
The Groove.
Boy Carlton Henderson, a.k.a. K-Town.
Mr. Henderson.
You have Keisha Reed.
Keisha Reed. I sure appreciate y'all being a part of this right here. This is the recap episode of 1 through 15. Your likes, your dislikes, memorable guests, anything from season 1. We're going to get into it and discuss it. But before we get off into that, for the ladies here, got something for y'all. What's something no man should mention on the first date if he wants a second date? Let's start with you with that.
His exes.
Can't talk about
His
that.
exes and how much money he makes.
Okay.
I don't care about that.
Not a big deal to you.
I mean, it's a big deal, but if you come off starting talking about your money, then I'm like, for what? Because I was already attracted to you. I'm already on a date with you. I don't need to know how much money you make.
I can respect that. How about you, Miss Keisha?
Maybe to pay for the date.
Okay.
Or begging for money or something. I mean, no judgments or nothing. I mean, there's nothing wrong with paying for a date, but don't just come out like, hey, you gonna pay for this date and you ask me out.
Okay. Fellas, got one for y'all. What are you doing differently in 2022 to make this the best year of your life? Oh, yeah. I got some of the best stuff.
To be honest, just being a better me.
Better you.
Just a better me, and just a better father, a better brother, a better friend, just a better me all around, you know. I think that'll make my whole year just go off spectacular if I just focus on being better me.
I can respect that. What about you, my brother?
I'm taking time, I guess, to be more patient. Not just with other people and things, but more so with myself as far as like the time I'm putting in to the stuff that I want to see come to fruition and everything like that. Not like holding myself like, you know, to the fire, but like, okay, like, yeah, you know, you're doing the best you can and all of that. Be happy with the results, because at times I'm my worst critic, and I be too hard on myself sometimes, according to other people. So I'm like, you know what? Be patient. Just make sure you put your best foot forward. You know it's all gonna work out. So I've been doing a better job of doing that this year.
I can respect that. I think my goal this year is putting myself in position to get in those special rooms. The rooms where the deals are going down. Right. The rooms where ideas is being discussed. That's what I'm missing. I need more of that. You know, I talk on the phone to certain people like, man, what you think about this? Let's do this. But the rooms where these deals are getting done, I want to put myself in a position to be in those rooms where those conversations are taking place. So
that's actually a good mindset.
Yeah.
To be honest, that's actually a good mindset.
That's where I'm at with it. So let's kick this thing off. All right, Season 1, 15 episodes. Got my first video, over 1,000 views. I was proud of that. My girl Keisha was a part of that. I appreciate you being on that. Being honest and open. Yeah, that one did its thing. And it's growing organically. Like, that's the beautiful thing about it. So I'm going to go on here. I'm going to start with Keisha. Season 1 through 15. What was the video that stood out to you?
I would have to say the one about is love enough to sustain a relationship or something.
Okay.
Yeah, that one stood out to me.
What was it about that episode that stood out
because
to you?
I think it was an interesting topic, and then I think just listening and viewing it, it's not. I came to realize I used to think it was, but it's not enough. Like, so that one had me really thinking, and that one was just interesting to me. You know, I could relate to it a little bit. Like, I don't know, that one was a good one. I liked all of them though, you know, but that's just the one that stood out because it was like a good topic.
That was an outstanding topic. I mean, because honestly, love is just it's not
enough.
about love in a relationship. Like, a lot of people forget about sacrifice, the compromising. You know, one, communication. That's where a lot of relationships fail at. Communication. Like, they don't, like, the one woman don't, like, when she does feel some type of way, she hides it from her man, or if he feels some type of way, he hides it from her. So if she asks him, "Oh, what's wrong with you?" "Oh, nothing." when there's something wrong with your day,
Right.
either her attitude or something. But if you saying nothing all the time, how would it ever be resolved if y'all just keep saying nothing to each other? Then next thing you know, you grow apart.
Yeah.
Then from growing apart, obviously that love gonna start turning to lust like you was back in a little kid again. To where you was in love with that person, but you grew out of love with it. Then it's gonna make you want to just go out and find something different. So that episode was kind of like spot on, like a hit. I think it can touch a lot of people because a lot of people no relationship's perfect, but I think that episode would help a lot of people. Like, one, if you are going through some things in your relationship, one, try communicating. Try listening to your partner. Try putting yourself in that person's shoes. You know what I'm saying? That way you can understand the situation when it does happen. You know what I'm saying? But yeah,
Big respect. My brother.
For me, it would have to be. It would be two this time. One, the first episode with you and your son, which I told you what that was going to be when you told me about that, and then on top of it, in comparison with that one, the one with Bree Harris and the life insurance. That was extremely important, especially for us in our culture, from the backgrounds and stuff that we come from. Not a lot of generational wealth, all of that. How to make sure that you don't become a burden for your loved ones upon your untimely demise and all. I feel like it was extremely necessary. So that, to me, those two were the ones that stood out to me.
What about you?
I think my favorite was the one with your son, because you don't see that a lot. Just sitting down with him, I co-parent with, and the co-parenting one too, but I co-parent with someone, and he's raising, we raise a son together, and it's difficult for me. He's a great father, but sometimes I just wish the communication was there.
Yeah.
And what I seen with you guys, it was great, because you didn't hold nothing back, he didn't hold nothing back. I respect that. And I think for our generation, we really didn't have that. A lot of us didn't have dads, and my grandmoms were absent or whatnot. So I think that was one of my favorites. And how your son spoke, that just tells a lot about the way you raise him.
Most definitely. That was the episode that I actually wanted to come out with a bang. When I put the podcast together, I wanted people to see that I'm coming with content that you typically won't see. That's why I start Provoking. I don't want it to be the celebrity gossip stuff. We will discuss certain things like that, but that's not the focus.
Right.
And when we went through the whole scenario, my goal was to make it a safe space for him, because it was a learning lesson where I was the parent that thought, my son will come tell me anything. He comfortable, and to find out that he wasn't. But I also wanted to put it out to where he can go back and watch this again, to sit there and say, when my time comes to have children, am I doing everything that I can that my kids feel is comfortable? Or am I repeating this one cycle that didn't necessarily go right between me and my father? I also wanted to create a safe space to where no matter what's going on, you can always learn from your mistakes and grow together.
Right.
Because we let it play out on air. We had already dealt with it off camera, obviously, but putting it out to the world so everybody can see, this was a real situation to where, although this is my child, he was getting me in a space where I didn't want to be bothered. I didn't want him at my house. So I brought these things up and put it on camera so people could see, sometimes we repeat some of the same cycles that we went through growing up. So I thought it would be dope. But that wasn't my favorite episode.
What was your favorite episode?
I go back and forth sometimes. But overall, my favorite episode was the one with Marcus. And I don't say it just because he's here, but the culture vulture mentality. That was the one that meant the most to me. Anybody that's an entrepreneur out there, I basically touched on, in order for us to stop complaining about getting a seat at a table, special rules being made for us, where we just get our foot in the door. If we support each other, you got a business, we support you. You got a business, we support you. If we maintain that, that'll push us up where we're not asking for a seat at the table. We're creating our own table. There's no reason why, unless somebody plays sports, that's the only time we want to support by buying a jersey or, something like that. That was my whole spiel. And I think that right there, with the state of the world, how football, for those that like football, the Rooney Rule. It's basically a rule put in place for these owners to bring in minorities or blacks, at least interview them, and you get incentive. Like, so they got to give you incentives to start dealing with people of color.
Right.
But if we do our part and start supporting each other, then Keisha could reach back to the next entrepreneur and bring that person up. Carlton got the spotlight to where, you know, he's the man and he's reaching back for another barber or whatever. Marcus has the spotlight. He's reaching back for another cook. Felicia can reach back and, you know, whoever it is that's next. That's how we kill that whole culture vulture mentality where we're not asking for a seat at somebody else's table. We're building our own. So that was the one that was more meaningful to me. I think that's why. So
Honestly, that's actually pretty amazing now, because I really didn't think about that like that. I really didn't.
you need to go back and watch it again. That's what you need to do. Watch it again.
I mean, the way you broke that down right there, I mean, you know, when you're watching it, see, like when I first started watching, like I said, was one with your son's episode, you know, with you and your son. That definitely was my favorite. Only reason why I would say that too, because me and my first baby mother, you know, I'm just gonna say the baby mother, no names.
I'll say it later.
Yeah, you know, the mother of my child, you know, me and her never like seen eye to eye.
Okay.
And you know, so it was always drama. You know, a lot of stuff was done out of spite because, you know, we wasn't together. You know, and so a lot of stuff being my kid, man, you know, can't see my kid. So when I watched your episode, like, me and my son relationship's always been good, but it's always been like kind of distant. You feel what I'm saying? So it's like, you know, I call him and like he called me when he needs something, you know, when it's convenient. You know what I'm saying? So after watching that episode, like I realized as the father, like, you know, it was a lot of times that, you know, I'm just like, I'm not trying to deal with the drama no more, so I'm just gonna be distant. Like, I'm tired of like reaching out and I'm always getting the back burn. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, I'm just gonna step back. But I realized by me stepping back, only thing I was doing was hurting him. You know, I wasn't meaning to hurt him. I was just trying to not deal with her drama no more. Okay, this how you want to be? All right, fine. I'm gonna play your game. But playing her game made me basically like lose connection to my son. One is like, okay, even though he said he loved me, I didn't really feel that love when he said, "Oh, I love you, Dad." Or it's like one of those, "Oh, I love you too. Get off the phone." Or, "Hey, Mom told me to call you, you know what I'm saying, to ask about the money, child support." Like, why is she having you call me? Like, to ask about child support. Why can't they be like, "Hey, Dad, how you doing?" Those type of calls. But that episode, one, made me realize something about myself. One, I was a little immature. You know, one, playing that same game as her, that was just basically me being just as little as her. You know, stepping out to her little immature mindset when it's about him. You know, even though, you know, like I said, relationships not perfect, but even though when you got kids and the kids involved, you got to put them first. You know, because even though you and your mother ain't going saying out your kids see all this. Mm-hmm. Even though they may think, oh, they young, they don't know nothing. No, these kids pick up everything. You know, and when they see that, you know, even though he know his dad loves him, but at the same time, it's like, your dad loves you from a distance. So if you're not there, like seeing this basketball game, seeing this, seeing that, and always his mother, you know, he know he got a dad, that's it, that pays child support. But that brought me closer to him. You know, one, not only just closer to him, but to the mother of my child. You know, we always were beefing, but she started watching your podcast just from that episode. And not only when I was watching it and I was feeling some type of way, she watched it, she was feeling some type of way, and we both had a conversation, we came to an agreement. So now it's not as bad as it used to be. Don't get me wrong, it was like a little episode, like past thing, like, you know, so I was going through a little thing financially at the time. Like I said, some women don't understand, like, it's not just about y'all. Men go through stuff too, you know what I'm saying? Like, if we say we're going through a financial issue, we actually going through a financial. No one has to lie about money. Right. You know, no one has to lie about money. Like, I got another kid too, you know. Well, some women don't understand that. You know, just because you got a kid by them, you know, and you got 2 other kids or whatever by your whatever problem, your other little boyfriends, you know, that's y'all business. But when you got when your father, your kid got another kid, don't just make it think like, okay, that kid is a priority when I got another priority I got to worry about. You know, they don't see it like the bigger picture, you know. But that helped her realize, okay, I've been a little selfish, you know what I'm saying? So that episode was like very touching and it actually helped me. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I definitely appreciate you and your son for that. Serious.
Most definitely.
Seriously, that was.
Let me throw this out to the panel. Was there any episodes that you all seen that sparked any kind of debate between the family? Well, you answered it on your end, but for everybody else, did it spark any kind of debate or conversation to where, you know, get a little insight from somebody else, or even if it was a little argument that started from
The episode where she did where the light skin and the
okay.
like Hispanic community, we do that a lot too. Like the darker Hispanics versus the lighter Hispanics.
Yeah.
Like my first daughter, her father, he was dark. He was Puerto Rican. He's dark. I'm Mexican, but he was super dark. And my grandmother, I remember her telling me, because she's dark, I remember her telling me back in the day, she was like, I was discriminated against, and I went through this, and I went through that. And when she met him, she was like, no, he's too dark. Don't bring him to my house.
Wow.
So,
And she was dark herself.
and she told me all these experiences that she went through, and her son was darker. He was as dark as you.
Wow.
And I didn't get it. I'm like, what do you mean? So it's not just for you guys. That happens for us too. And like for me, I just went to Mexico. I'm not considered what they are there.
Right.
I speak, the same language, the music, everything. I look just like them. But when I go there, I'm not the same. I'm not them. They don't consider me one of them either. So we do experience that too. So that was brought up in my house, like, because my daughter, because like I said, her father's dark. She's darker than the rest of my kids.
That's dope. I love to hear these. And that's the beauty of the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
That's a perspective that I would have loved to have had on the show that people don't think about. You know, obviously us being black,
Right.
we go through it saying light skin versus dark skin, but that is something in the Latin community.
Right.
Even more so, when people try and describe Mexican and Puerto Rican, that's how it's described.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, this group is darker, they're lighter. And if you call somebody who's Mexican, Puerto Rican, it's fucking.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
it's a real thing.
It is a thing.
To have that perspective, is something that I would have loved to have. But I think that's definitely dope. Anything for you, my brother?
Not so much. It was a conversation that was sparked, and for whatever reason, I still cannot put my finger on the episode that Bree was watching while she was cooking. Like I told you, she was in the kitchen cooking. I was outside barbecuing. I came in real quick, and I saw her watching the pod. I just can't put my finger on the episode that it was. We had a quick little exchange. Like, not necessarily an argument or nothing like that, but she was just basically telling me, like, hey, like, yeah, like, I'm watching the pod, and then basically this was the topic. Whatever the topic was, and we had a difference of opinion real quick. But the funny thing was, when her and I differ in opinion, it's literally night and day. Like, and that will spark a whole, okay, this gonna be an argument, this gonna turn into, okay, we might not talk for a couple hours or a day or something like that. Surprisingly enough, on this particular day, the disagreement that we had was something about, it was a topic of importance, but the way we handled it was completely different. So it was like, I can say that it almost I ain't gonna say rectified, because it wasn't like the relationship was in shambles, nothing like that, but it taught us a better way of, I guess, voicing our opinion, maybe because some of my thoughts or her thoughts were already expressed on the pod, and she found a way to convey it better and stuff like that. But it was just a quick little exchange. Oh, well, yeah, I see it this way, or I see it that way. But I cannot think of the life of me what episode it was. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna ask her once we leave, and I'm gonna tell you what it is, because it was like damn, this is different. Like, we don't normally argue or be done this quick, but yeah, it was real.
That's what's up. I want to go to Keisha. So, when I first reached out to you to come on the podcast, you talked about you being a little nervous, and you obviously trusted me to kind of walk you through the process. Nobody could tell, because literally, like, I asked people when the episode went down, like, could you tell if anybody was nervous? I didn't say no names, but everybody was like, nah, the episode went well, they liked it. Can you speak to the experience of coming on? Because there's other people that I reached out to and they were nervous. Can you speak to what made you comfortable?
Well, at the time, see, I always been a quiet person.
Okay.
So.
Cap.
Really, that's what I'm like. No, I really was. Like, most people that know me, like, I could tell you was kind of nervous in the beginning, but then you just got to talking, like. But I think just building the conversation before we even start airing, like, we be talking for a minute before we even start. So that got me comfortable, and then it's just like, at the time, I'm like, okay, I can't keep living my life shy, nervous. I got a business, so I'm like, I gotta it was just something that told me, like, just go on there. Then people I talk to on a regular, they like, just do it. Like, you always so closed off, or you know, you really a cool person. Like, you got so much to say. Like, just go out there. So that was just like it was just like me going out doing something that I'm not comfortable doing. It pushed me to just be somebody that I'm not normally. Like, I don't usually speak in front of people. I'm really a nervous person or whatever.
Okay.
So you asking me to come on there, I'm not gonna lie, I was like, no, I don't really want to do it. I think I kind of was like, I don't know. But the topic is what got me. I'm like, okay, I can relate to that. I've been dealing with that all my life, like, you know, being a darker skinned woman. I just thought it was a good, interesting topic. So it was like, what is this? It was like something on my bucket list, public speaking, doing something I'm not really comfortable doing. Like, I would have never in a million years thought I would be on a podcast talking. Just never.
You did your thing.
Yeah, I never would have thought, but it was just something to get me out there and to push me to do something I wasn't comfortable doing. So I do appreciate you.
Oh man, I love you.
I'm like,
it does feel good when you see people that you grew up with. You know what I'm saying? Like people like
I was
yourself.
shocked you even asked me to come
Like,
on. I'm like,
yeah. One that I liked, what I liked about your podcast too, that you did on every episode, you gave people a piece of you.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if everybody ever noticed that in your podcast, but every episode you gave somebody a piece of you that no one ever knows.
Hey, don't steal my lines, but I appreciate you saying that. You know, because I was supposed to throw that out. But no.
You know that nobody ever knows. And I love that. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of people that don't know Will Brown, like, a lot of people outside looking in would look at you, oh, he's a bully. He always wanted to do this. But Will Brown is the most humblest person I've ever known. One, you would get the clothes off your back to anybody that you felt some type of love or respect for. You done it. You done it for me. And I'm living proof of it. You know what I'm saying? This man been a friend since we was little kids, little whippersnappers. You know,
hey, zoom in on what this brother speaking that knowledge. Zoom in on this brother here. He's speaking that.
This man is a great dude. You know, he's a great dude. He done for my family, not just for me. He done for my mom, my sisters. Like, he done for all of us. You know what I'm saying? He done it for many people that I even know besides myself. You know, but that's why I said with you, like I said, giving people a piece of you every episode that some people don't know about you. You know, so outside looking in, they always gave you a bad name. You know, and you're not a bad person. You just, a lot of people tried you, and
people don't know me, man. That's the
hey, a lot of people tried you and it didn't go their way. You know, just put it like that. You know, hey, you know, but Will Brown is a good guy, man, and you put success around everybody. You know, you're not trying to hate on no man. You don't care about what this man got, what this person got, and that's how it's supposed to be. You shouldn't hate on somebody when we all the same. There's no difference from we all brought up in the same hood. We all trying to make something of ourselves. You know what I'm saying? A better life for our kids if you have any. And that's what you provide on this show. And I love it. I love it.
I want to shout out my man's mother, man. I'm telling you. My man's mother, she definitely supports. Like, I catch her under the comments. Like, she really watches the episodes. And for someone to even look at my podcast, the videos that I put out, and even like them. You don't know, but you never know how it's going to turn out. Once you know, I come up with stuff in my mind, just say, well, let me get a crew of people, let's discuss it. You don't know what the reaction of others is going to be. So for me to have a positive, you know, response to the videos that come out is definitely meaningful. But one thing I do want to put out to everybody is, although it's my profile with the Thought Provoking podcast, it's our platform. It's not mine. Because without you all telling your experience, what you went through, your thoughts, your ideas, feedback, the podcast wouldn't be nothing. So it's not just mine. It's just my profile. I'll put the information out, see what people think, but it's ours. So I'm always welcoming new guests, looking for new perspectives, ideas, thoughts, all of that kind of stuff. Like, this is our platform, something that everybody could look forward to and say, yeah, that's ours. Like, I rock with that right there. So, you know, it's not just about me.
I'm definitely rocking with that.
So I'm definitely appreciate that.
I can say one thing, though. Like, the first episode with your son, it kind of, like, taught me something about myself. Like, I wish my daddy would have had a talk with me. Like, it would have changed a lot of stuff. Like, just growing up, and it affects you in your, you know, adulthood. So me, I was just at work one day. I'm like, let me see what this podcast about. And I was just watching it. And then I went on to the next episode. And it's like you can relate to so much stuff. And then you find out stuff that you've been dealing with that you didn't even know just putting that little stuff out there like that. It probably wasn't nothing to you, or you probably didn't think that much yourself, but that really had me thinking like, dang, I could probably be a whole nother different type of person right now if I would have just had that one talk with my pops, and this one thing that he probably will never forget in his life.
Yeah,
So
that's
that's, that's just that's like putting positive stuff out there.
Absolutely.
That's what would capture my attention with the podcast.
You don't see that type of stuff on podcasts. You really don't.
That's the goal, to put something out that you don't typically see. Like my goal with this whole podcast is for this to be your favorite show. The same way, whatever your favorite, whether it's Snowfall or Power, whatever that is, that comes out weekly or however long it takes to come out. The same way you look forward to seeing that, I want people to say, "Oh man, it's Wednesday. The Thought Provoking podcast. They should be putting up another episode. Hey, what you think? Hey, did you catch the episode? The same way people yeah, definitely
subscribe,
go to Thought Provoking podcast.
Subscribe.
YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. Leave
Keep
some
your notifications
feedback.
on.
But that's
every
my
Wednesday
goal.
will pop up.
I want that to be that feeling for everybody else with the other episodes that they like. Like that's literally, what my goal is. Is there any particular guest other than my son that was on that stood out to you all?
Yeah, I like that LaToya and was it Brittany?
Yeah.
That was a good one to me. I like that one. I would have thought
Breaking generational
that
curses.
one was a real good one.
I honestly like the one also you had the two officers, Keith Dodell and
Cisco.
There you go. I actually enjoyed that one also because that's, like I said, only reason I think I actually enjoyed that. Two people that one I do know and respect to, and two, you don't see that nowadays. You don't see police officers on a podcast.
I expected that one to do a little bit better, but y'all could go back and watch that episode if you haven't already. Go back and watch it. It's bridging the gap between law enforcement, so that's what that episode is. Go back and check that one out.
And I got a little bit more love and respect for the law officers now. Now I ain't gonna lie, after that episode, like you look at certain officers differently. I ain't gonna say all of them, but certain of them. Like I used to just say, like all cops. All of them was just all the same. As long as you blue, you gonna follow that code that they want. But all of them don't just be on BS all the time with people. They try and help people, trying to make sure everything's cool. So I got a little more respect for cops after that episode.
That's what's up. What about you, my
I'm
brother?
gonna piggyback right off of that because that was my that was my favorite as far as like guests, because especially like I told you about Cisco, you don't expect an officer to be that transparent to the public about like what they're taught, what's really going through their minds, like approaching like danger and tumultuous situations and all of that. And for him to, like I said, to come on the pod and be open, knowing what type of backlash officers get because they're part of the fraternity, like they supposed to stick together, band together. You've seen and heard the stories on like 2020 and Dateline and all that about the officers that did stand up against rogue officers going against or like being corrupt and all that, and how they ostracized and their life is threatened and they family and all of that. Like for him to be as transparent as he was, and so as well as Keith, like that was dope to me. And like I said, like when I watched the fight, I was at work watching it, and
so
like,
was I.
like it was like damn, like he giving out a lot of information, and it wasn't just like facts. It was like his personal experience and like the things that was going through his mind when he approached certain situations, things that he learned like just coming up through the force. Like like you do have to look at cops differently. You can't lump them all into the same basket. But again, like to me, like that took a lot of courage, and I guess that's weird too, because why should we look at that as being courageous just because you doing your job honorably? Like that's a weird concept. Like the more I think about it, at least. But he was willing to just be open and all of that. Like so, to me, like yeah, like, he put a lot on the line with that.
One of the highlight moments, me and my cameraman was laughing at. Cisco brought up how much force is really enough. Like it may take one bullet to put a person down. It takes 16. And when he said it, my camera guy, later on we discussed it, just a little special for y'all. He was like, man, you want me to take that part out, And I was like, hell no. Like, he ain't asked me to,
that was a good part.
Leave that part in. And the reason why it caught our attention is because of the Laquan McDonald situation, how many times, it happened to him. So to hear an officer be as transparent with the scenario to say, it's really up to an officer. Like, what is really too much? It was like, damn, because when you see it on TV, obviously you look at it and say, oh man, police, they ain't shit, they wrong, this and that. But have you ever sat back to think, if you're not trained a certain way, we obviously can coach from the sideline after we see a video and say, why you ain't just shoot him in the leg, and why you ain't, but
Facts.
Can you imagine really being in a scenario and you having to deal with it? I mean, it's totally different because, let's be honest, everyday life, you see individuals get into it, and we could sit there and say all day long, why you ain't take your whooping like a man? Why he went and got a gun? We don't really get on a lot of people. Yeah. It's just like, damn, such got killed. But when it comes to an officer and they're doing it, we go crazy. And not making an excuse for any officers, but I'm just saying, like, I think that episode made a lot of people reverse the roles to say, damn, if I was in that scenario, or damn, that's how they think, when it comes to the training and stuff. So I thought that was, definitely something that was dope. So shout out to Keith, shout out to Cisco. I appreciate y'all doing that episode. Anyone for you?
I think what I like the episode with the rape culture. What's her name?
Lynette.
I commend her. I commend her for even speaking about her experiences alone, and to see that she was so comfortable speaking about it. Because if that was me, I probably would have choked up, or you know what I'm saying. But that just tells me she's worked through it. She's been through her therapy, whether it be actual therapy or for herself or whatever. But I commend her for even just being. It's just saying what she said, you know what I'm saying? Like, that takes a lot of courage, and just to have people know your business. I'm a really private person, so I don't know if I could have done it. You know what I'm saying?
So that episode right there, I had a lot in that episode that became meaningful to me. I definitely appreciated her getting on there actually talking about it, like you said, because I know a couple other people that went through that scenario and they weren't as comfortable to talk about it. The stuff they hadn't dealt with. But she gave, I don't know if people really paid attention, she gave several perspectives. One was being raped, so being a rape victim. The second perspective was being a victim of an attempted rape. That's a whole nother scenario. Then her son being accused of rape. Never raped the girl, but being accused of it. So that's 3 different perspectives that just one person gave. That's what made it so powerful to me, just to see, like, have y'all even factored that this is everyday life, this is what goes on. My guy Malcolm, who back here recording, he gave the perspective on, although we're married, if this woman says no, that means no, not, oh, you my wife, you don't have the right to say no. This woman ain't your property.
Facts.
It's not your property. An old timer used to tell me, anything that I own, I pick up and take with me. I've never once picked up some, a woman's private part and took it with me. It does not belong to me.
That's facts.
So, although y'all married, it's still rape. When he brought that up, I was glad he did, because it was definitely much needed. Another dope scenario is, after I put these episodes out, people that know me personally that call and talk about it, there was a girl that she was a rape victim. Years ago, we had a discussion about triggers, and I asked her, is there anything that triggers you? If you're having sex and a man grab you a certain way, or some people like rough sex, put his hand over your neck, or any of does any of that trigger what you went through? And she said, no, I'm cool. Okay. That was in 2015, maybe 16, but I believe 15, 1 or 2 years. When she saw that episode, she came back and she let me know. After watching that, I never realized all these years that I do have a trigger. And for her, it's like sudden movement, anybody like running up to her, doing stuff fast. That's basically how it started for her. So watching that episode, it made her realize she does have a trigger. And that was always interesting to me, because I think about stuff like that. I don't get with a woman in my past, get with a woman and be like, have you ever been raped? No, that's nothing we think about.
Right.
So in this new age where everybody swearing up and down, they like to be choked and pulled a certain way and this, that, and the other. Can you imagine doing some of these sexual acts and then it triggers someone and then they accuse you of raping them? Well, you didn't actually do it, but the movement, the grab, the whatever you've done, it triggers what that person actually went through. And now you're accused. How do you prove I didn't rape this person?
Well, as a man,
How do you prove that? There's no way to prove
you can't
that.
prove it.
I mean, yeah, you might have text messages that might, have conversations leading up to it or whatever the case is. But if a woman says, I told this person stop and they still went through it, how do you prove that?
You can't.
So looking at all of that combined, that's what made that episode so dope.
I think too, there are also some women who do like that hardcore stuff because they were raped or because they had a past or they were molested as a child.
Yeah.
They didn't know how to cope with that, and I think they grow up and they do like that stuff.
Yeah.
I never thought about it.
It's yeah. So I mean, not for personal experience, but just stuff that I read and watch. There's and for men too. I think a lot of when for guys that have. I'm gonna say it like this. I watch a lot of true crime or hear a lot of
Nothing
true
wrong
crime
with that.
podcasts and stuff
Yeah.
like that, serial killers and whatnot. So, like a lot of men that were molested and treated badly end up doing those things, like the R. Kelly episode, like you guys were talking about. He went through that as a child. He never got the help he needed,
Nope.
and he ended up doing those same
things
things.
to those women.
Mm-hmm.
You still listen to R. Kelly?
That's a good
Hey,
Actually,
Yes.
no.
I do.
Yes.
No, I used to love R. Kelly, but
After
it's not
that.
even something. I'm not gonna say because of that. It's just something I probably just threw on my mind after I heard that, and I was just like, yeah, whatever. I never was like, I'm never listening to him again, but I just think I threw it out my mind. I was like, no, I'm good.
My brother, you still, step in the name of love a little
Yeah,
bit?
listen, I play slow dance religiously.
Okay.
Hey,
Listen.
Okay.
I can't take away from that man music creativity, but him as a person, what he done outside of music, I ain't gonna promote that. But his music, that man
You
was
still play it though.
Of course, I will bang a R. Kelly playlist still to this day.
What about you, Keisha?
I ain't gonna lie. I used to be the person like, I'll never stop listening to it, but I did try to stop. I tried.
Okay.
But
Let's see a few
I
cuts
still
here and
play
there.
it.
Yeah, cuts here and there.
I ain't gonna even lie.
I'm telling you, we get
So
that.
I always feel like, obviously, everybody has the right to do what they want to do. Support what you want. Don't support what you want to support. That's to the individual. For me, it's just hard for me to unhear what I've already unheard. It is what it is. And for me, I can honestly separate the artist from the man.
Yep.
That's what
What his actions were, I don't have to agree with that.
Yeah.
That's wrong, that's foul, if all of those stories are true. And one thing that bothers me about it is it took a documentary. He was already guilty in public opinion. It took a documentary. Most of this kind of stuff that he was doing, everybody swore up and down, they knew.
Right.
Everybody needs to be locked up. If your ass
let's be
knew,
clear, and went to trial for it.
went to trial
And beat
and
it.
beat it. That's 100% true. So I can separate the two, and I listen to it. Like, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, a lot of people may not like it, but I'm gonna play the shit. that's it.
I've been
Same way you got same way you got the right not to listen.
I look
I'm
at it
gonna
on
play
both sides. It just don't make sense. I mean, we are talking R. Kelly. So how many? I'm not gonna say all these women. I'm not right. I'm not going to sit here and say all these women that was supposedly victimized in this situation, that was raped or this is R. Kelly. We talk all them girls that was there. What I guarantee you was consensual on some of them women. It's just that money stopped flowing, and that's what happened.
Okay, so how would you feel if that was your daughter and they're sitting here talking about? I still listen to his music though.
See, I'm not saying. Well, music is music.
So you wouldn't care?
Let me
About the music.
let me
I'm
jump in.
saying
first.
okay. I'm not gonna say
About
that.
listening
I'm
to
saying
music? No, I
his
wouldn't care about her
music,
listening to music.
If that was your daughter in the videos, and you was like I'm gonna kill this man. He did this to my kid. How would you feel if your peers was like, well, I don't know, cause I still like his music.
Your homeboys.
Yeah.
Put it like this: I can't control no man's thoughts. I can't control no woman's thoughts.
I'm not saying that I'm like I said. I'm
Right,
just
just a
speaking
scenario.
right.
No, this is a scenario. Now, hypothetically speaking, if I had a daughter, hypothetically speaking, if I had a daughter, one, like I said, some of these women, like I can't just blame R. Kelly. Like I said, some of these girls that's growing up like this, like, one, where was the parents in that?
Exactly.
You know, a lot of this stuff does fall on parents. You know, how their kids are. You know, fast or think about it. Like most of these girls that's having kids are kids themselves. They not thinking about being a mother. They thinking about the next check. They thinking about the next Prada bag. They're not thinking like their morals are all messed up from what we were brought up in.
Right.
So if I had a daughter today,
those parents do have 100%.
Daughter, I, to be honest, I don't think my daughter would end up in that situation.
If she was,
but if she was, okay, my mind. Wow, that's a big.
Yeah, you gotta.
Okay, my first reaction. Okay, my first reaction would be, okay, I'm gonna kill that nigga. Okay, that
ain't about R. Kelly. She want to know about if your daughter got raped, and everybody else is saying, what's your reaction when everybody else is making the same statement about I still listen to his music? What he did to your daughter may be fucked up, but hey, I still listen to R. Kelly. If you're hearing that, then what?
Now, if they bringing it, if I'm hearing it, and they talking amongst their own self about his music is good, this and that, but if they saying it to me in a way that is disrespectful, like they know about my situation with my daughter, like it's say for instance, like if I'm around my guys and they using that as a joke, jokingly, like when they know there's something you want, then yes, it's disrespectful. So yeah, we go.
No, it ain't a joke. They just flat tell you. I know your daughter got raped.
Oh no, that's a problem. It's a problem. It's a problem.
I'm flat telling you, like, I believe that it's fucked up, that it happened, but I'm gonna still listen to this shit.
Oh man.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Be a problem.
It's a problem. I'm sorry. It's a problem, brother.
We passed talking at that point.
At that point, it's no talking.
You can't listen to it
because at that point, it's just like you in my house, and not only are you just saying this to my face, you saying it like, okay, what you gonna do about it? So at that point, yes, I'm sorry. Like in that situation,
They just start playing. They just start playing the song.
You know, I never thought about that.
Let me swing it to my brother.
I'm not gonna lie. I never thought about that.
I'm gonna be honest with you. Number one, on this topic, I'm not an R. Kelly supporter, but you got to keep things in perspective. For him to do what he did for as long as he did it, he wasn't alone. No. Like you talking about the road, and fuck it, I ain't even gonna put names on it specifically or titles. You had people that were close to him that had to aid and abet him for that long, for however many women and cases and stuff that it was. Absolutely. But when that Surviving R. Kelly, the 2 seasons of it dropped, I recorded it. And I watched every episode twice. And if you notice, the one thing that was consistent was you had not women, but you had girls of consent age saying that, yeah, my mom couldn't stop me. I was going to this concert, wherever it was, and I was going to do da-da-da-da-da. And then you had the one girl that was living at his mansion in Atlanta or wherever else he was. It's like she moved around with him a couple times. Mm-hmm. I'm a father. I have 3 kids, and I'll use some news later. But there's no way in hell. There's no way. My grandfather has 5 daughters. There's no way possible. No way. Absolutely none that his kids are somewhere, my kids are somewhere, and a man or men is telling me that they locked up in this room or this home against their will, and I'm not doing everything in my power to beat this door down. So the fact that it went on this long and these women were there, whether these girls were legal or not, going into young womanhood and all of that, it makes you look at the parents differently. And I go back to what Master P said.
That's my point.
Like, okay, you telling me as a father, mother, I'll give you a little leeway. But as a father, that your daughter and or daughters are here, and y'all not doing everything in your power to literally burn down everything to get to this man, kill anybody in your way to get to this man, it makes you step back and you look at it like, okay, what were you trying to get out of it? And that's what one of the girls said about her parents. Yeah, my parents sent me down here at the concert because he was allegedly pulling women up from the concert. He had one of his handlers. Yeah, I want that girl out the crowd. Invite that girl backstage. And one of the girl's parents spoke of it. Like, they had went all on the press run and everything like that. So I'm like, okay, I get it. He a monster. He had issues about molestation when he was a child and something being done wrong to him. So I get it. He turned around and he did those things to other people allegedly and everything like that. I ain't trying to hear none of that. If my daughter, child, so whoever, this mine is somewhere against their will, and that's what they claiming. Fuck all this legal tape. Fuck all of this, But the fact that none of that happened, you never had a father really lose his mind on R. Kelly or nobody. Somebody should have had a murder charge. Somebody. If you tried to kill one person close to him, I believe 1,000% that what you're telling me is true. You never had that. So you were looking to gain something. And I ain't trying to victim blame, but we got to be mature and look at things in its like proper perspective. Like I see how parents act like when they can't get into school to get their son or daughter out of school or whatever, or they ain't on the list, or like they act a fool up at the school. True. You telling me somebody got your kid against their will and they doing stuff to them? They got them peeing in the bucket in the corner. They can only eat or come out of the room when somebody say so.
And you're doing nothing about it.
And you ain't did nothing about it?
That's why I said something.
Man, I don't give a fuck who he is. I don't care how many number one hits and times he went diamond.
He's going down.
He a dead man.
He's going down.
Or somebody close to him.
Let me move this thing along, because this ain't about R. Kelly. So
True.
We went into a whole rap about R. Kelly, but I ain't want to cut my boy off. I ain't want to cut my boy off, but this ain't about R. Kelly right here. This is about Provoking over here. Fuck R. Kelly. He done got paid. I'm trying to get to that level. You know what I'm saying? Fuck R. Kelly.
Facts.
Is there any person or any episode that any of you didn't like? Hey, I gotta ask. Season 1. Everybody can't like everything. Anybody? Who want to take it?
What about you? Was it one you didn't too much care?
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely.
Here we go.
Let's get on into this thing. Let's get on into this. So the one episode that you like, and it was, what did you say you like? Is love enough to sustain the relationship?
Yeah, I like the topic, I should say.
Yeah, I didn't like the episode.
You didn't like
at
that?
all.
Period.
I watched it the first time, never watched it again. Almost every episode that I've had on here, I've watched several times. I've had conversation about it, and I'm gonna tell you how much I did not like it. A lot of times when people be talking about it, or I try and think about what, I don't even be remembering the title of it. I didn't like it. The sound wasn't as good to me. So it kind of sounded like everybody was so far back, although we weren't. The sound didn't do it for me. And then it just wasn't a good group. Wasn't a group.
But it was a good topic, though.
The topic was good. I did my thing. I appreciate that. I did my thing.
It could have went a different way.
It definitely could have went totally different. I don't think that the group flowed the way that they should have. There was a lot of things that, like I said, I didn't like, that kind of made it a little harder. Maybe if I would have switched the group up. I mean, you never know what you're going to get when you put these crews together. You don't know what you're going to get, how open somebody's going to be, what they're going to tell, whatever. I know Maya lost her train of thought. She was the one sitting. She lost her train of thought. We tried to bring it back around to her. She didn't remember. And then I know she told me, well, let's talk about something else. Let's talk about something fun. I'm like, oh, shit, okay, here you go. What you want to talk about? She was like, I don't know.
Wait, I thought the Cardinal lost. I thought that was the Cardinal was the lost art or something.
Is that what it was?
See, yeah, he got two you don't like.
Yeah, I'm about to say, now the two come out.
Oh, no, that wasn't it.
Oh, okay, because I'm like,
no, that wasn't it.
Okay.
No, that wasn't it, because that had Sylvester on it. But that, one of the girls on there, that episode I rocked with, but no.
Okay.
I didn't like that one at all. I was like, a little bit. But what about y'all? This ain't about me. What about y'all? What y'all didn't like?
You up here starting stuff with us?
Or is there a particular guest that you all felt like didn't really do it for me? Because I've had feedback from other people, but since y'all on, I figured I'd ask y'all. Nobody? Nobody want to say. Everybody want to be,
I don't even know the chick name.
I think honestly, it weren't too many bad ones that
Okay.
Don't
nobody want to say that. We just gonna say that for
well, I'm not gonna say I ain't gonna say none of them was bad.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna say none of them was bad.
A little more interesting.
Some was, I'm gonna say there's a couple of them that was a lot more interesting, but
Okay, I'm gonna say it like this.
But
No shade to nobody up here. I really didn't know about the cultural version. Y'all put me on this song. I was like,
Okay.
what
Yeah, that was the second episode.
That was the
wasn't it?
second episode. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, go back and watch it.
Yeah, I didn't
Yeah, I
know
did.
either.
I'm just saying. Before I watched, I'm like, culture vultures. What is this about?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
but when I watched, it was pretty interesting though. But I can't say y'all put me on the song. I really want.
I think I'm gonna have to go back and watch that one myself because I think you already told me that a little earlier.
Go back and watch.
Yeah,
that.
you was like, I think you need to go back and watch that one again.
He did.
Because I ain't gonna lie. When you were saying that earlier, I'm like, I like the way you put that together. Yeah. So maybe I do need to go back and watch that Culture Vulture.
I'll give y'all a standout guest that I had, and it was Brittany Stewart. Thing that was so dope about Brittany Stewart was before the cameras even got rolling, when she came through, she was just like regularly talking. You know, we always have a conversation before we start. I'm listening to her talk, and I had to literally stop her and say, wait a minute, we got to get the cameras rolling. Because, I mean, she was flowing out the gate. Funny thing about Brittany was, a little more of an exclusive for everybody, I didn't ever have Brittany in mind. For one, Brittany doesn't stay here. So she just happened to be in town. Don't remember who I initially reached out to, but whoever it was, obviously they couldn't make it or ignored me, because I was getting a lot of that too. A lot of people ignore me. So I reached out to her and just asked, like, hey, you know, think about doing a podcast. She posted a status saying, like, hey, I'm in town. You know, I'm finna work out. Anybody interested? I was like, shit, hey, you interested in doing a podcast later on after you work out? Because I ain't finna work out with you, but you know. She was like, yeah, I'll try and make it work. And she actually came through. And she was just dope. Like, the conversation flowed so well. She had a lot of energy. And what I thought was cool about her perspective, she talked about breaking generational curses from a two-parent household. So that was something that I didn't expect. And I did want to ask her, like, because I seen, it was funny, when I put the clip out, her mother got under there and was like, I forget what she said, but basically letting her know, like, oh, I see this. So I wanted to know, like, okay, you're speaking honest and open about breaking a generational curse, and it's dealing with your mom. How did she feel about that being said? Because, you know, most of our family, like, what goes on in this house, stay in this house. For you to openly talk about that, like, I wanted to know behind, you know, what was that conversation like, if any? So, yeah, she was a standout guest to me. Anybody else got a standout guest y'all want to throw out, or episode? Or
Again, it's two for me.
that you didn't like? That you didn't like?
That I didn't like?
Didn't
Didn't
like.
like.
An episode that you didn't like, or a standout guest that you was like, hey, I rock with this person.
It would be, okay, then the standout guest would be Malcolm and Lynette.
Okay.
Absolutely, because the conversation that they embarked on that rape culture episode was, like, it was listening to Lynette talk about that, those situations. Like, you know, when you watching something or listening to something that's almost like cringe-worthy,
Yeah.
like you just can't let it flow. I had to make myself like keep going back to it and everything like that. Reason being is because there's a couple people that are close to me that have been raped and taken advantage of and things like that. So it's like the things that she was saying, I'm like yeah, it's kind of hitting close to home, and it's like the way they opened up the conversation, especially Malcolm, and just bringing up stuff like these conversations should start to become. I don't necessarily want to say common because you don't want to get in a person's like personal business up on dating and stuff like that. Like that's when they feel comfortable enough to let you in. But when you were describing the young lady that you was with, and she said that you grabbed her by the hips and like, oh no, don't do that. Like you never had that conversation. Like how often do you be like, okay, like do you have any triggers or any, like that's not no real conversation that you have off GP. Just like, okay, like yeah, we getting to know each other. Like we just, what's your favorite color? What type of music you like? What you like to do for fun? You don't never get to the part to where it's really like we passing the touch barrier. What's your history like? What's my history? Like we barely ask motherfuckers, do they get tested regularly and stuff like that?
Right.
Like to have that, for you to embark on that in that moment and everything like that, like that would have completely threw me all off and everything like that. Cause it's just like it's so out of left field. But it let me know like, okay, yeah, this needs to be like really, really become more common. So like I said, that episode, it gave me chills almost. So definitely that.
Is there anything that you all watched that y'all saw that you would say was underrated? Like something that stood out to you all that you didn't see the reaction from other people. Like whatever hit home to you. Like I'll give you an example. One thing that was dope to me, I did a conversation with Bree Hears and we talked about the life insurance. It wasn't planned or any of that. But as me and her flowed back and forth, I thought the episode was amazing. Normally at the end, I got my whole spiel set together, how I'm going to end it. The only thing I could think to do is bring Malcolm up last minute and ask him to end it on a prayer.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I mean, it flowed so well. And I think that that's a moment in my podcast that's very underrated, that a lot of people don't speak about. But I mean, it was last minute. I was just like, hey, brother, can you come from behind the camera? And like, I mean, and he put it together.
That was a teary
Good
eye.
prayer, too.
Yeah.
When she talked
Yeah.
about her child's father
Yeah,
passing
yeah.
away, and then he came and prayed. That one was a tearjerker right there. But also the one I was on with the guy, like your friend, that one was a good one
Jackson.
too. Like,
What was
it's
his
not
name?
too many
Jackson.
people.
He always go by Jackson.
It's not too many people that actually remember those people that did something for them and then come. You know how people, I got you, but you actually came back and you kept your word.
Oh, yeah.
And you remembered just so many small details of how he helped you and looked out for you, and you really paid it back. That was dope.
Man, I'm telling you, that's a moment in my life that I'll never forget, because I've always been known as somebody that was financially good. Never had financial issues. I was always good with money. I don't have some of the vices that other people have. I'm not a club person. I don't smoke. I don't drink. You might see me on the podcast drink a little wine. Those are not things that I do. So for me to try and get ahead with investing and things went wrong, I never asked him for the money. So a lot of people was under the impression that I asked him. I never did. He just saw what I was going through. He knew the scenario. And he gave me the money, just saying like, hey man, don't let this, destroy you. Get on your feet. You go back at it. You're going to get what you lost and more back. And he just gave it to me. And I always told him, I'm going to give you your money back. I'm going to give you your money back. And for years, he always was like, nah, bro, I gave that to you because I want to see you win. So it was never a scenario that I actually owed him. But I used to always say, because I sports bet, I used to always say like, man, I'm going to go ahead, get some of this money. And, I'm going to give this to him. And what my real thought process was, I always wanted to pay his mortgage. So that's what I always wanted to do. Then, you get caught up in life. You focus on this and that. And, it's something that kind of slipped your mind. When you all came through and you did the episode, I wanted to end the episode with a bang, just like I came into it with a bang. My son was a conversation nobody expected. So when they saw that, I got a good response. The only way to end it, since I got a chance to share that episode with a friend, more of a brother, I wanted to go ahead and let him know that's a moment in my life that I never forgot. And like you spoke to, I always give a piece of myself on each episode. I wanted to share that not only with him, but to everybody else, to be a reminder. For those that done right by you, get even with them too. Because we quick to get even with the ones that do us wrong.
Right.
Get even with the ones who do you right.
Right.
So that's where that came from.
I like that.
Yeah.
Anything
I
else
like
y'all got? I got a lot
bad.
of standout guests, but nothing
Nothing
bad.
bad. Nah.
Nothing bad.
Nothing bad. Nothing negative.
Nothing negative.
I didn't get nothing negative from your podcast.
Yeah, it was all
To be
positive.
honest, it was all
Each
positive
episode was
vibes to me
positive
on
in
your
its
show.
own way,
What is something that y'all saw that y'all would say, watching this podcast, he could improve on this?
You?
Yeah.
You can improve on.
Mm-hmm.
Improvement.
I think the silence speaks for itself.
Right. I was about to say, I can't even really give you nothing about you.
Okay.
It seems like you've done this for a while. Like you the way you interact with everybody, and you're able to change subjects without being rude,
And I'm gonna tell you why. Because I agree with the silence. It does speak for itself. Every episode is different. A different panel, different topics. You can't approach every episode or every discussion the same. It's just not a simple like template. Like you have to gauge the emotions and the temperament in the room and everything like that. And you do a great job of making guests feel comfortable. Like not just like you said, like not just opening up your home, but opening up like yourself and like it's with easing a person into a topic like you did with Keisha and again like I said like the rape culture conversation couldn't have been an easy conversation. So to get people to discuss things that are probably near and dear to their heart or opening up of themselves, like that is that not a task, but like that's a what's the word?
I call it a gift.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah,
I was just about to say that's a gift.
It's a gift. Yeah, so it's like you get better every episode. So it's like I wouldn't pick out one thing that okay, yeah, you could do this better. Like because to me, like that would be nitpicking. You do what the episode or what the conversation or the people and or persons call for. So I would tell you just keep doing that because as long as you yourself, the work and the accolades and the acclaim speaks for itself. I haven't heard anybody personally or seen on the internet speak down on you except that person, that dude you sent me or whatever. And you know he was just being a clown. Like people that actually,
you doing something right?
I had one. Well, you know what? I actually, because you know I had a couple. So you know it was a dude from my neighborhood.
Oh yeah.
From my neighborhood. I think it was two of them.
You know how y'all.
You know it was two twins from my neighborhood, and I'm gonna say their names: Jason and Gerard, two bums. They got on social media, and you know you gotta put it out. This is a recap episode. People want to know, exclusive. Two bums got on there, and they was upset because I put out a sneak peek of a clip that I had done, and it was about the hood mentality being one of the most powerful drugs in our community, and because I guess they feel like they're part of the street still, they was offended by it. Not that I gave a fuck, but I engaged with them like, if you want to have a conversation, we can. And one of the brothers, we did talk. And I, basically let them know, like, look, if we going to talk as men, we can. But all that yelling and screaming, we not going to do that. And the conversation really didn't go nowhere. He was just saying, like, oh, but you out here telling people, not to be focused on who a rat and who in the streets telling, like, that's a part of our culture. That's how we grew up. No, brothers. Regardless of how we grew up, that don't make it right. And what I was basically saying in the statement was, talking about street stuff, who a snitch, who a rat, who this and who that doesn't get our people further ahead in life. You focus on the silly, dumb shit. Mm-hmm. There's no award. There's no amount of money that they give you by being a quote-unquote real nigga in the street. Negative. I held it down. I stayed 10 toes down. We push that dumb shit, but what comes from that? Nothing.
Death.
That's it.
That's it.
So that's what my conversation, more was geared towards. But when you stuck in that mindset, you don't even want to receive the message. And that's more so like where that came from. And then somebody white got on there, and I don't even remember what they said. It's something about like, what he said, like, this nigger conversation or something coming down.
Oh wow!
He wrote it on my page.
Oh, did he write that?
Yeah, on the top Provoking page.
Oh man!
And they didn't say nothing to him about writing it. So I got on there. I was like, do us all a favor and yourself. When I said it, they put me in Facebook jail. But
they didn't put the racist N-word.
But I'm gonna tell you that was a learning lesson for me because again, like I spoke to earlier, when you put this stuff out, you don't know how somebody's gonna respond. And it's people's right to respond however they feel. Everybody's not going to like what I say. Everybody's not going to like my content. That's perfectly fine. I have to do a better job at not getting suckered into certain conversations. Because I'm still human. If you say something to me, I'm going to say something back to you. Just the same way, if you go on my pages, in any of them, when people say, man, good job, man, that was dope, I really liked, I get under everybody's stuff and say, man, thank you, I appreciate. Like, I respond to everybody. I don't ignore any, I don't feel like, oh, I got a couple views, I'm above that. No, I appreciate it, and I respond to everybody. So when you say something slick, I catch that too. And I respond to that too, which I shouldn't. So, yeah, I had that little scenario go, but you know, it is what
I
it
mean, they
is.
threw you in jail for saying hang yourself when we was the ones being hanged. That's funny.
Now, just so y'all know, before YouTube tried, that's him saying it. I did the gesture. That's him saying I did the gesture. So, but yeah, that
No
actually
offense.
did happen. That actually. Is there any conversation pieces that y'all would like to see? Now, I got my own thoughts and ideas, but has there been anything that y'all felt like, I wish he would do an episode on this?
I think like the light and dark. I think the little controversial topics that keep the
You
people
like
going.
that right there? That get
You
it
know?
going?
And then the diversity, you have different type of people. You don't have just the popular ones. You don't have just the, you have a different crowd
Yeah.
on each show. They keep.
I welcome everybody.
Yeah.
I think, and how to cope with family drama, like the issues that come in. Like family drama is a bitch sometimes, bro, and it really affects you like a lot. Especially when you do a lot, like when you put so much weight on your shoulders with your family, like you do so much, but you don't get that same love and I don't know, how can I put it, like when you get the family that it seems like they only reach out for when it's convenient for them, but when it's convenient for you, like hey, what if I need something, or hey, how you doing? How you say you need something? It's never that. Like I think that need to be talked about a lot too, because a lot of family members is the ones that's always in their kids' pockets. So
Now, when I blow up and I do the episode, don't be sitting there
Oh,
I
no.
gave him that one.
No. See, because when you blow up, we blow up.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
that's all platform.
You know what I'm saying? When you blow up, we all blow up. Yeah, we going viral.
You got one?
Yeah, actually, and I'm not sure what you would title it, but just knowing when you outgrow relationships, and I don't mean just like romantic, platonic friendships, platonic, family members.
That would be
like
that
when
would be
you
good.
when do you realize that okay, I can go, because we talk about this, so it's like when do you realize that you hit that point, and once you realize it, how do you like navigate through it? So I think a deep dive on that would
Got
That's a
anyone,
great
please?
topic.
No, I like what he said, because
That's a great topic.
yeah, there's a lot of friends that I grew up with that just not what fits my life right now, and they're offended all the time. Like, why wasn't I invited? Why didn't you talk to me? Like, I don't hate you. I don't have a beef with you. I don't have no qualms with you. You just where you're at right now is not where I'm at. Right. And I'm not saying where I'm at is better, but don't take it offensive. Like, we're good. Like, if you need me, call me. But
that is,
you know what I'm saying?
that
Like,
would be an interesting topic.
What about like we always talk about what's wrong with other people. What about what's wrong within ourselves? Our toxic traits.
I kind of touched on that with Nicole. We did the shortcomings in relationships. So like what you struggle with, and I gave a lot of that on episodes. Like I talked about me not being the affectionate type of guy. I wasn't raised like that, and it's a struggle and something that I have to work through. So I've given out a portion of it, but I will do an episode on it. Like I'm definitely open to it. Get the right group to come and be honest and transparent. We can make it into
extreme level of honesty.
And count me in.
Yeah.
I'm willing.
you should do one too about parents. Like, our generation as parents, like dealing with, like, I was a young mom, but I'm still a mom. I still deal with things that my mother and my father didn't teach me, that that I struggle with my kids. That I, like, if when you talk to your friends about, like, I'm going through this with my daughter, and she tells me, like, well, this helped me when I went through it. People that you don't know, you know what I'm saying? Like, outside perspectives, like, hey, this is what I'm going through, just to get advice. You know what I'm saying?
That's what's up.
I like that.
Well, I want to give y'all the opportunity to give any shout outs that y'all want to give, any businesses that y'all want to promote. If there's any last minute thoughts, ideas that y'all want to, throw out, I'm going to give y'all that opportunity. I want to start with you, Keith.
Well, I got Envious Designs, custom shirts, custom whatever, logos, flyers, whatever. Anything custom, I'll do it for you. Envious Designs, Keisha Reed on Facebook.
That's right.
Carlton. The only person I would like to shout out right now is my man Will Brown. I mean, I'd like to shout you out, man. This is a wonderful thing you're doing. Not only for a friend, but as a brother. Appreciate everything you're doing. Not just for me, for everybody that's sitting here. Like, thanks for everything. Thanks for letting us use your platform to get our voice out and our opinions.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it.
The Great Groove, who I'm always in competition with.
I definitely second that. Yeah, like I'm proud of you off back. I remember when you brought it up to me, the ideas. Like I love the fact that you put it into fruition. You hit the ground running. You can only go up from here. Definitely, I can't end this without saying shout out to the Unfiltered University podcast. Julius is Big L. You know, see y'all soon.
Oh yeah. Anything you want?
Just shout out my kids, my husband. I'll be home soon. I know you guys are texting me because I feel it vibrating. I'm gonna cook when I get home.
Yeah. I got a couple shout outs. First, I want to shout out Diana Darden. She runs the EC alumni page. That's a whole lot of work. A whole lot of work. Like keeping up with deaths throughout the city, different people's business ventures, what's going on, just throughout the city. Like, I don't think a lot of people give her enough credit because she's a mother herself. She got a job. She got her own life. And then to keep up with everybody else's stuff. So I want to definitely shout her out. I want to shout out both of my kids' mothers. I want to shout out to both of them out. My kids are AB students. And much of that goes to the mothers. I'm not going to even be the one to take that goes to them. I also want to shout out Brittany Monroe, business owner of Simple Scrubs Cleaning, residential and commercial. So y'all make sure when y'all see her put that out, y'all support that as well.
Oh, big ups. Big up, Brittany, for real. Big ups to that.
Most definitely.
That's a major move there.
So I appreciate y'all being a part of the panel, being honest and open, even though y'all ain't want to tell me what episode y'all ain't like. Y'all ain't want to tell me what person y'all didn't care for. I understand. We'll talk about it off camera, and then I'll come back and tell you.
You want to be able to come back to the podcast, okay?
Okay. Well, that's the recap episode of the Thought Provoking podcast. Looking forward to season 2. Y'all make sure if y'all haven't checked out 1 through 15, y'all go on YouTube, Thought Provoking podcast. Y'all can follow me on Facebook, Will Brown, Instagram, Thought Provoking podcast. Until next time, we out.
We out.